How's everybody doing? You are here with Community Connect, and I'm here with Ellie, who's a business owner, who's a local woman who runs a beautiful dance studio. And I'm gonna be going around talking to other people who own businesses who face the same challenges as I do right now as a new business owner. So this is Ellie, and we are Kindred Spirit Pole and Fitness Studio. And this is a very interesting business, but I would like to take it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And just to get to know you, just so people get to know you. And where are you from? Are you from here? You local?
So I grew up in Ottawa, and then
Alright.
I moved here when I was in high school, and I kind of stuck around ever since. I went to school
Which high school did you
locally.
go to then?
I went to KCI.
KCI, nice.
Yeah, I went to KCI to finish it up for the last few years, and then I went to Laurier. And
Laurier, yeah, nice. That was my
I
next
never
question.
really left. It just, you find a place that you like, and
And
kinda-
after Laurier, was there a full-time job before this?
yes, there have been a few. So I'm actually an accountant by trade.
Nice.
So I went through.
That is what you took in Laurier, right?
Yes, I have a degree in economics and accounting, and then I went into the field for that. I chose not to do public accounting because that didn't really strike my fancy. The long hours and all of the demands that they place on you weren't really my jam, and I'd already been working in the local tech community for a number of years as an accountant or financial analyst, and I just continued with that. So I worked for a couple of different startups, and then I worked at a major multinational corporation for a few years.
So this sounds like you're pretty deep into that. And
Yes.
how did you, and how does one, let me put it this way. How active were you as a child? Did you, let's say, dance, or did you participate in your martial arts? Because this is a pretty physically demanding.
Yes.
I don't know what to call it. Is it a dance or is it a sport? What would you call it?
It is a sport.
Is it a dancing sport?
Yeah, it's a dancing sport, exactly. So there's so many different facets to pole, so everyone can kind of pick their own journey. But
Mhm.
as a child, I did a little bit of everything. So I did do ballet and modern dance, but nothing kind of kept my interest. Did a tiny stint in Taekwondo, but same thing, it never kind of brought it
Never
home.
stuck, huh?
Yeah, and I always enjoyed moving, but I never found a sport that I enjoyed enough to stick with, which makes sense. As an adult, I was diagnosed with ADHD.
Oh, I know all about that.
Yeah. So the need to move really became apparent, especially once I did finish school and you're not, walking to and from classes and kind of getting
Yeah, definitely.
through that way. You really just need to find something that you love to keep you moving.
So this happened in a way that you kept trying things until you found a studio where this
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah,
And-
I've always been adventurous, so I love trying all the new things, but nothing quite stuck. And then I took one pole class, and that was it. I was laying on the floor the next day, incredibly sore from head to toe, and I was like,
I imagine.
I love it. This is it. I finally found my thing.
And so how far deep did you get into this? Did you do competitions?
Yeah, so I perform, I compete, I obviously teach and now own a studio.
Wow.
So this is, yeah.
That's pretty serious. So
Yeah.
you went from one serious thing right into another one. Was there
Yeah.
any transition period where you were doing still a full-time job and running this business?
Yeah, so we started in April of 2020. We had
Mhm.
already locked in the lease
2020.
to take possession of the space March 1st, 2020.
And then the storm hit, right?
Yeah, so it was in for a penny, in for a pound. We just kind of had to push through and hope for the best. And I was working full-time up until this summer. So I still had a full-time job on top of everything that I was doing
And was
here.
was the studio working full-time? Did you have somebody else training here?
So we do have other instructors.
Mhm.
We're a team of 6 people, and they do teach a bunch of the classes. I am still the primary instructor
Okay.
because, as the owner, I'm free labor.
Well, yeah.
I'm the last person to get paid. So in a lot of ways, this was another full-time job. So it was
Well, that's
working
why
a
I'm asking,
full-time
right?
job, and
Because
then,
this-
kind of full-time in the evenings and on the weekends on
This
top of
seems
that.
like it would take a lot of work, right? Having
Yeah.
people in here somehow, advertisement and all that. But I actually want to talk to you about advertisement because it's such a, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So now you found a studio where you wanted to dance and you started competing and all kinds of
Mhm.
stuff, right? And I know Leanne ran that studio, right? Is that the one
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yeah, so I started at Impact Movement, run by Leanne, absolute sweetheart. And she also put a lot of faith in me, and she let me try teaching there.
Oh, nice.
And so that's where I originally started. She ended up wrapping up that business, so I moved to another studio, and I was there for a number of years. But I
As
just,
a trainer?
yeah, as a trainer and
Nice.
as a client, I felt that there were certain things that I wanted to see in the studio that just didn't align with their business plan. So
So you had your own vision.
yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
great.
So
That's,
I thought also, KW is a rapidly growing area.
it is, they call it the Silicon Valley here, right? Of
Exactly.
Ontario or whatever it is.
Yeah, we're the Silicon Valley of the North. So with such a young, funky population, it made sense that the city could support, or the Tri-City area could support multiple studios. So I thought, I always wanted to start a business. I just
there's
didn't
more
know
than
what.
one then still, right?
Yes, there's
Okay.
there's one other one.
We're not here to talk about that.
But,
That's okay.
yeah,
I was
it's-
just wondering because for some reason I thought you were the only one.
No, no, I don't mind that there are others. I think pole is such a niche sport, and aerials are such a niche area that you kind of have to build off of the community aspect, and having, the bigger the pie, everyone gets a bigger slice when the pie gets
Yeah, and
bigger
it gets more
altogether.
popular too, right?
Exactly.
It spreads more. Some random people might come in and just look at it, right?
Yeah.
Friends of friends, and then get into it, and yeah, or just like you did, right? So now I'm kind of want to talk a little bit about the financial struggles that you had, because obviously, like you said, you're open in 22, and was it right before COVID hit?
Yeah, so we took possession of the space March 1st. So on March 1st, we were given access to this space to start setting up. But as we know, the
So that means
lockdowns,
no floors, no mirrors.
there were no floors, no mirrors, there were actually no walls. I had to paint it, clean it, everything.
And who was helping you with this?
So it was mostly friends and family.
Friends and family.
There were a few people that, came in and did the trades. Like, I paid someone to paint it, but for the most part, friends and family helped me install the floors. They helped me put up the mirrors. They helped me put up all of the poles. The
So all
aerials,
of this is your elbow grease. This is all you,
pretty much,
right? All
pretty
you
much, yeah.
from
So
friends, right?
there's pretty limited stuff, so like,
You've accomplished a lot.
yeah, I mean, in my biased opinion, I like to think so. But yeah, so I definitely relied a lot on kind of friends and family to get us up and running.
And what about during the lockdowns and all of that? So your doors had to stay closed, right?
Yeah,
Did you try to do anything like online classes or something like that? Is that how you got by?
yeah. So because the lockdown started in March, and then gyms weren't cleared to open until the end of July, and even then there were other things that prevented us from opening before Labor Day. So we opened actually for the first time for physical classes in September of 2020. So we actually launched fully virtually. We kind of came into the world with, not a bang like a lot of companies get to
Yeah.
do. There's like a grand opening and a huge event. We kind of just stuck our toe out into the world, and we're like, maybe. So we still offer virtual classes, but virtual classes were all
You're
that
still
we
doing it.
could offer in the beginning.
Yeah. And that worked? That built up?
Yeah, it definitely helped us build up, a clientele and help people stay consistent. I think
Yeah.
we're all aware of how hard the lockdowns were, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. So I think having that exposure to other people was really good for a lot of people.
And how would it work if you were at home?
Yeah.
Would you have to set a hoop up, or would you have to set a pole up, or
Yeah,
how would it work?
so
You'd have to
we-
do something, right?
Yeah, we didn't do home hoop classes just because the reality is if you hang a hoop in your home, unless you go through the proper engineering steps, you can actually like void your home insurance.
Yeah, keep it in a
Yeah. Most people like their homes to stay standing.
Yeah.
However, home poles, you can get a tension mounted pole, so you basically just screw it up until it
Keep
holds
pushing,
steady.
yeah.
But we also have a ton of classes that don't require a pole, and we modified some that normally do in order to include more people who just don't have access to having a pole at home. So we tried to keep the scope of what required a pole absolutely pretty small, and then we had a bunch of classes that didn't need anything, and then we had a bunch of classes that you could have a pole, but you didn't have to have one. We would modify all of the exercises in order to include as many
And
people as
how does
possible.
how does a no pole class look like? Is it something like one of those videos where you jump and run all the time.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea what it's like, right? So but it looks like people always work out in here. This is not a
Yeah.
ballet room, you know, where not. I'm sorry, not a not a slow dance room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
all of this looks physical.
we're not doing a lot of, kind of gentle dancing, but there's a whole variety of different classes that we offer. So there's conditioning classes meant to get you really strong. There are classes that are focused on flexibility. We also have a class called Sculpt and Rehab, which actually started as canned fitness because a lot of people didn't have weights at home. So I started teaching the class with cans of chickpeas because I was like, you get to choose how heavy you want to go, if it's like a tomato paste can or, like a bigger can. And that class is designed to help shoulder and knee stability to prevent injuries.
So
we
this
have
is
a whole
everything.
range.
This is gymnastics, this is working out, this is
Yeah.
dancing, this is all of it in one. Huh?
Yeah.
That sounds very interesting. And also, the last question I wanted to ask about the COVID and financial. When you just started, did you, I don't want to get too specific here, but did you say have 20% and you had to borrow the rest? Or were you in a position where your family was able to provide a loan? How did you get the money together?
So
Or you just maybe came up with the first and last and just somehow pulled all of this together?
No, so I had the cash to start the business, but because I have a background in accounting, I know that it is much easier to get money when you have money.
Yeah,
So despite
sure.
the fact that I had all of the capital required, I did decide to take out a loan because that way, if the business needed more cash,
You
I
have
would
some
also
then.
have the cash on hand,
Nice.
and it functioned as collateral for the loan. And the bank felt a lot more comfortable with that. So it made it a little bit easier to be able to say, hey, I have this professional background, I have the capital to do this on my own, but because I want to make sure that I
You have a backup,
don't
yes.
stretch myself too thin, I'd prefer to take out a loan. I did put in obviously some money
Smart.
at the start.
Definitely smart.
I like to think so. I like
For
to
sure,
think so.
for sure. That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
So all of this is rolling and growing, I'm hoping.
Yes.
It's getting bigger and bigger. Like we
Yes.
said, you had 6 instructors in here now?
Yeah, I have 6 different instructors, so we have an amazing team, quite honestly. I know that I'm 100% biased, but I tell them all the time that they're just wonderful humans at their core, and a lot of them teach a mixture of classes, so not everyone teaches the same things. They all have their own preferences and styles, but we have a few people who will come and teach on the hoop side, and then the majority are on the pole side, and then I just went on an out-of-the-country vacation for the first time, and I was gone for several weeks, and that was an interesting experience because it's always stressful to leave your business in the hands of someone
this was
else.
all running, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they kept everything running. They took over all of my classes, and
Were you satisfied when you came back? Everything
yes,
was good?
yes,
That's
the
good.
place was standing. It was clean. Everyone was happy. I didn't get any emails being like, "Oh no, they were awful." But I always tell my instructors, and I tell my clients as well, I hire my instructors based on personality first, because I can teach someone how to teach and how to do the movements, but I can't teach someone how to not be an asshole.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're just the most wonderful people. They're kind and compassionate, and I think that really resonates with a lot of our clientele. Oftentimes you go to a gym class and they're like a drill instructor, right? And
Yeah.
and we all need a little bit of tough love, but I think that the key in that sentence is love. You shouldn't just be tough, and the instructors really care about
Should
the
be a
clients.
connection, right?
Yeah,
And connection
exactly.
is there when you care, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
exactly.
And so I also know you've been collaborating with some local artists, right? I don't want to get too deep into that, but so did you enjoy did you enjoy the experience? And do you think you're gonna be doing something like that more, getting out there and collaborating more?
Yeah, I mean, I love to dance. I love to meet people. Obviously, that's why it's why I've done all of this. So I think the opportunity to kind of meet new people and collaborate in ways that help us both grow, but also it's fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of times we focus on, okay, we need to make money and do all of this, but I think when people see you enjoying yourself and having fun, it makes them much happier to consume whatever
What
your
you're
product or
creating,
service
yes,
is,
to connect
because they're
to,
like,
yes.
hey, this person is having a good time. I
Definitely.
want to have a good time. as opposed to, going in and you're like, oh, this person's not having
So what
any
would you
fun.
say so far have been your biggest challenge? Is it the COVID, or was there?
Yeah, COVID has, I think, been undeniably a huge shaping factor in the business. It completely derailed all of the business plans, and I
Yeah.
completely understand why all of the lockdowns happened, but we've had no transmission in the studio. We've, been
Well-
very safe. We're actually a perfect sport for it because you have to be on separate poles anyways, so
Yeah,
you're
and far
already
apart.
like
Yeah,
6 to
yeah.
8 feet apart, kind of minimum. So it's actually a really safe place to be compared to a normal gym. And it's only this year in 2022 that we've actually dropped the mask requirement. So
Mhm.
we still ask that you're wearing one when you're walking around the studio or when you're being spotted, because we
Can't work out in it though, right?
yeah, so you can choose to. Some people do. I know I still wear mine most of the time when I teach. I think it's helped my lung capacity, if nothing else. But also, especially because we have such a small group of instructors, if they're coming up to spot you and keep you safe and help you do all these beautiful, fun new things up on
Mhm.
the pole or the hoop, it's really important that they don't get sick, because
Yeah,
they
for
are
sure.
my first priority,
Definitely.
because I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable coming into the space. And it did allow us to have people who are recovering or immunocompromised.
Mhm.
So whatever someone's personal situation or the situation of their family, we've had a lot of people come in and say that they felt really comfortable here, but COVID has completely changed the timelines
Changed
for
the world,
break
that's for
even,
sure.
and it changed how many people we could have in the studio.
Mhm.
So
There's no limitations anymore, is there?
no, but there were for a long time.
Mhm.
And whether it was
How did you deal with that? Did you create more classes?
so it was a combination of, we've gone through many iterations of like the lockdowns and the requirements, so each one kind of brought its own challenge. And I think that was also part of it, was that the rules didn't stay consistent over the last few years, because
Mhm.
there was the color code system and then the different tiers. And so it was always kind of a challenge to have to be able to pivot quickly, including earlier this year when they gave less than 48-hour notice that January everything was going to be locked down again.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we're having to pivot on a dime. And it's something that we can do, especially when you're a smaller operation. It does make it a little bit easier, but we've had to reduce the number of people, space them out. Yeah, we had to
Honestly,
change the
it
pricing.
felt like, I know it wasn't, but it felt like a targeted hit on a small business, because if you didn't have the capital to survive the 6 to 8 months at least,
Yeah,
you're done, right? And who's surviving?
Yeah.
The Walmarts and the Costco's, who's got billions of dollars to just in case.
yeah, I
Right.
know. I was on a call with a bunch of other studio owners in the early days, and one of the people leading the call, because they brought in some scientists and people who were a little bit more knowledgeable about
Mhm.
what could this look like, and they were brutally honest, and they said, if you don't have the means to keep yourself going for the next 18 to 24 months with minimal income, you should close up now.
Yeah,
Because if you're gonna have to pay rent on a space that you can't use, and you're already cutting it close in terms of
Yeah,
margin.
you go deep in and that's it. right?
Exactly. So I think for me there was a little kind of dose of reality at the start of, this might not work.
Yeah, I know they were giving out. I know for Doug Ford was giving out some grants. I
Mhm.
heard. I'm not sure. I think there was a federal grant of some sort. Did you go for any?
So sadly, because of when the studio started,
Mhm.
we didn't qualify for
Oh.
a lot of the grants. So we got the
How come? What was the reason? Too new or something? Could that be the reason?
Yeah, so for the first round of it, it was, they always ask for financials, and they're like, we'll give you a grant based on the change in your income, right? So they're like, we want to see a
Oh, and
decrease
there
in
is
your
no
income. And I'm like,
record,
well, I just started, so there was no prior year income.
Mhm.
So technically, I've had year-over-year growth, but that's been
Excuse me.
due to me, being incredibly passionate about this and persistent and making sure that we're still pushing ahead. So every year our revenue has grown, but that meant that we weren't eligible for a lot of stuff, or
Yeah.
we just didn't have the business background and like length of time.
I'm
Yeah.
actually I'm surprised and very happy that you survived that, because
Yeah.
that seems like
Me too.
everything lined up against you, and you seem to chin up and
Yeah.
did it all, you know what I mean, and found the online classes, found
Yeah.
other classes. That's a hustler. That's a warrior right there.
Yeah.
That's what you want in a business owner. That's for sure. And I like how you said about how you pick your staff, how you build relationship with your clients. It's amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to talk about is marketing, because this is sort of a place where you don't want to have windows on the first floor,
Yes. Yes.
right? So, and you don't also want to have a sign, "We teach pole dancing here."
Yeah.
How do you get around that? How do you advertise?
So a lot of it is word of mouth, just because I feel like sometimes you find one person in a friend group and they fall in love and then they tell all of their friends, all of their family, maybe not their coworkers, but a lot of it is word of mouth. And if people are interested in pole dancing, because there's such a small selection, when you Google pole dancing Kitchener, we're it. You know, we're the only option.
That's why I thought you were the only one.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy to find us. So if you're already interested, we're easy to find. And then if you don't know that you're interested yet, I try and do performances and collaborations as a way to reach a larger audience, and that's also why I'll book with events and stuff like that so that we can go out and meet people.
Oh, events, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
I only thought about the video material, but the events could be a good revenue for you too, a good stream of revenue and a good stream of marketing, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that's a very good idea.
And I like to do something that I call reverse business carding. So if I'm at a business, and especially if I'm kind of picking up on the energy that the person I'm talking to, whether it's, you know, wait staff or a cashier, obviously don't do this when it's really busy and they have stuff to do, but you know, normally once I'm settled up and all paid, then I'll be like, hey, can I reverse business card you? And a lot of people go, sure. They don't really understand, and then I'll give them a business card and be like, hey, your first class is buy one get one free. We do bachelorette parties or private events, you know, whatever you're interested in. We have a little bit of something for everyone. We'd love to have you come and take a class.
Nice. That's because I knew it wasn't gonna be nothing flat out.
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna be something a little sneaky and interesting. That's why I wanted to know how exactly you do it. And so far, have you had any problems with people that shouldn't be here trying to be here?
No. Very luckily, we haven't had any issues with people coming in and harassing our clients or our instructors. And one of the things that I tell instructors when they start here is they have my full blessing to remove someone from the studio in the moment, but also to revoke someone's membership and blacklist them if they feel it's necessary. We've never had to, but I think that empowering...
Zero tolerance is in place, right?
Yeah, and that is actually, if you go on our website, we have a very short list of policies, and one of them is we are a safe space. We are an LGBTQ+ safe space, absolutely, because given the nature of pole and a lot of this, people feel very vulnerable here.
Oh, definitely.
And I want to protect that to the utmost degree, because a lot of people come here to recover from trauma and to reconnect with themselves, and I don't think that it's appropriate to allow any kind of, you know, harassment or discomfort. And to the credit of all of our clients, they're wonderful to each other. Like, we'll have someone new come in and I'll be like, oh, you know, here, meet this other person in class. And immediately they're like, oh my gosh, yes, no, you're gonna love it. Welcome. If you have any questions, let me know. And I like to think that I was kind of like the seed that started it all.
Oh, you are.
But they have taken that culture and just run with it. And our clients and instructors make me incredibly proud.
A lot of times, people that accomplish things, you know, say that I started and it just got so big that I couldn't control it anymore, right? And it seems like that's what you got here. Well, I mean, you can still control it, but that's my next question, actually. At this level, it's easier to manage and all of that, but do you plan to have another one? In another city?
Location?
Yeah, another city maybe? Are you going to be grown into a corporation, taking over the world?
Probably not. Not that I don't think that world domination wouldn't be cool, but I think that part of what makes the studio function is having the heart here
Mm-hmm.
in the studio. I'm here normally 6 to 7 days of the week. It's, I get to meet everybody, and I know that I can't teach everything and be involved to that same degree forever. But I think that knowing your clients and interacting with them, especially in this kind of business, is such a critical part of it.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
I find a lot of joy in teaching and all of that, but I also find a lot of joy in just fostering the environment. And obviously, given my background in business and accounting, I enjoy that side too. So it kind of gives me a little bit of,
I was gonna
there's
say,
lots
if you
to do
start
behind the
opening more,
scenes.
you might have to go more into business, right? More into
yeah,
even more, right?
yeah, and I
Because-
think it's hard to franchise a business because people have tried, and there are some studios that have multiple locations, but I think if there was going to be another location, I would have to bring on someone to run that location as their primary thing, and finding, to be a little cheesy, a kindred spirit to that degree is not going to be an easy task, right? So if the universe, ever sets us up for that, it's not that I'm not open to it.
Okay.
It's just not a priority at this moment, because I think that, maintaining the culture, and I enjoy being here, and for now, I don't need the headache of another location just yet.
Okay. So then what's next? What do you think you're gonna be doing next? You think you're gonna be, because how many classes a day do you have right now?
So we have, every day is a little bit different, but we have about 20 to 25 classes every week.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're gonna have more classes, but I don't think that's.
We will.
Really?
Our plan is to always kind of continue how many classes we can offer.
I guess 25 classes is 25 hours, right? Or
Yeah.
is it a longer than an hour class?
So all of the classes are an hour, except
Mhm.
for our open practice. Open practices are 90 minutes, because I think one thing is life is stressful, and I don't think that having fun should be stressful.
Mhm.
So our pricing model is relatively simple. All of the class credits can be used against any class that's level appropriate for you. So as long as you stay within your physical ability, you can take any and every class. And as opposed to having different prices for the taught classes versus practice,
Mhm.
I made them the same price, but practice is 90 minutes instead of a 60-minute class. Because that
Mhm.
way, also, when you're trying to come in and do your own thing, you want time to warm up, kind of get settled, maybe scroll through Instagram, remember what you want to work on, and it's
Just
stressful.
be chill, right?
Yeah.
Just be chilled. I
Yeah,
hear
exactly.
you. All of this sounds like you care a lot, and that's what I love to see. This is my
Yeah.
first one. I'm going to be going around, and I made sure that this is my first one
Oh,
because,
thank you.
like I said, I've met you before for 10 minutes there, and
Yeah.
I was just like, this is going to be a great one. First of all, the
Yeah.
topic, the topic is good. You know what I mean? You're a good outgoing person, and I was sure it was going to be good, and it was.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful to you for
Oh, yeah,
being
of
here,
course.
for doing this with me. And one last thing we probably should do is to do any plugs. If you got
Yeah.
any Instagrams, Facebooks, all of that.
Yeah, so we're at Kindred Spirits _poll on Instagram, and then Kindred Spirits poll for Facebook. I did double check when I started the business. It's a relatively unique name, so we should be pretty easy to find. And yeah, we have a ton of classes every week. So we have pole, we have hoop, we have a ton of fitness stuff, and then we also have.
Actually, I forgot
Yeah.
to ask you one important question.
Mhm.
Is this a female-only
No.
environment, or is there?
No.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
That was the question.
Yeah.
I knew I was missing something, but
No, I won't deny, we are
Mhm.
a woman-dominant space, but that is not through, we're not keeping anybody out of the space. I think
Mhm,
it's just a lot more women are drawn to circus and pole than men, but we are an inclusive space. Everybody is welcome regardless of gender,
So is
race,
this is
everything.
different classes, though, right?
Nope, it's
No?
mixed,
Oh,
yeah.
It's mixed. Oh.
It's mixed, and we don't guarantee that any class will be women only, although most are. We don't have a large number of men who come to the studio, but that's not because we don't want them. It's just not something that's as common.
And in this small percentage of men that come in, do they come in as professionals to tighten up their skills or something, or do they come in as newbies and they're learning?
We have a little bit of everything, and especially because Kitchener-Waterloo is growing so quickly, we also have a number of people who come in from other areas. Like, they've just moved here, so they might not be fully new, but you know, they're looking to continue their hobby. And yeah, we welcome everybody regardless of skill level or occupation, and I want everyone to feel like this is a good community space, because for those who aren't particularly religious, if you're not part of a church or something like that, you really miss out on the community aspect and community support.
I hear you.
And that was a huge reason that I think I fell in love with pole, because of the physical aspect, and it was so much fun. It's a great mix of strength and cardio and flexibility and creativity, but I think what kept me in it is the people.
The people, yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like I said, you're building a community, you're building a family here, and 25 classes a week and you're growing.
Yeah.
So the community is growing, and I
Yes.
wish you nothing but luck.
Thank
I
you.
will make sure that the plugs are everywhere, under the video,
Yeah.
over the video. Make sure you come.
Here.
Exactly. Make sure you come check this girl out if you're interested in any of this. I will post some shots throughout, but I can tell you that this is very professional, very clean, very nice, and as you can tell, the person running it is like the best.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.